So yeah, we are here to talk about that 2023 phenomenon that is Barbenheimer, and to talk about the power of cinema in the part of this massive marketing campaign. So I'm here, as Kat just said, with Stacey, CEO of Digital Cinema Media, and also the Grand Prix winner of the Media Leader Awards last year. So let's have a chat about Barbie and Oppenheimer. This is the first time the two films have opened with over £10 million at the box office. And the films have been a particular success with the notoriously hard to reach 16 to 34s. So do you think cinema, does it not suffer from the same problems that we often talk about in linear TV in terms of reaching this particular demographic? It's not all about short form content after all, maybe. And tell us a bit more about how cinema has managed to reach this demographic.
So the stats have actually got stronger for us for 1634s. So over something around 55% of the audience now that are going to cinema are under 35. And I guess it's the place where they actually see the whole environment as like going to an event. So most people go to the cinema maybe 6 or 7 times a year. So you make the appointment to go. The content that you're seeing is only available in cinema, so it's pretty discreet. You know exactly what time it will be showing, and you tip up at that time, and then you enjoy that moment, as I say, like an event for the evening, rather than you sort of don't just stumble across it, or you don't just like go, oh, I've got nothing to do, like, oh my God, I'm going to switch that on. So I think it's still this really important appointment to view, and I think you're totally right. I think there's less and less and less of those about. And the research we did a couple of years ago, we called Mission 1634s, showed that the young audience as well really see the cinema, the advertising in cinema, and the experience of the trailers as all part of the experience. So I think they just said they see it as this moment in time for them to consume this part of the entertainment that's available in their free time. So it's still a very special place, I think, in people's hearts, and that's the fact of it. And it's stayed the test of time. And I guess the whole the real test was during the pandemic, when the studios could really try and experiment with straight to streaming, and it didn't work. They just didn't get the audiences, and people didn't value that experience as much as they do going to the cinema. So I think we're just like I guess for me, the core proposition of what cinema offers is just getting stronger, not weaker, when this world is so cluttered.
Indeed, and we talk about fragmented landscape a lot, don't we? So what is so great about Barbenheimer as a marketing campaign? Why is it so great, and what has it done for you guys?
So it's interesting, and it's nice to see Jamie and Poe and Dean in the room too, because I think all of us didn't even have Barbie in our top 10 at the beginning of the year. So we thought it'd be okay. We thought Christopher Nolan and Oppenheimer would be okay, but we thought they were okay. And this is what happened. This picture got leaked on social media, and the response to it was incredible. And what the clever marketing people at Warner Brothers did, they jumped on that sort of swell of interest for that picture. And it's that reactor marketing, or that reaction on social media, that really drove the start of the campaign. And then everyone jumped on that. And then, as always, success seems to have many fathers. The great line, which was, which one are you going to see first? Because Oppenheimer and Barbie were launching on the same night, was the stroke of genius in marketing. But I think anyone in the business would always say, they were good films. Barbie was an okay film. No one expected them to do the numbers they did. And it shows that what a strong marketing campaign can do. So I think actually everyone in our industry should be really proud about Oppenheimer, because we are the people that created it, not the films. And so if we can create that for Barbie and Oppenheimer, we can create that for a lot of things. And when you talk about the numbers, and like the 10 million opening weekends are great, and we'll talk about it in a second about TVRs. But in the end, if you look at it from a TV rating point of view, 32 TVRs is which is what Barbie achieved overall. So it's a third of the population went to see Barbie, and of 1634 women, it's about 42% of women went to see it. So it's just incredible. But when people talk about the films, I always say this is a marketing success.
Indeed it is, and so we should all be very proud of that. And so you've started talking about the TVR. So last summer, DCM launched TVR for cinema, and it's available on Connected, which is the data platform from our parent company, AdWanted, so full disclosure. Tell us about how you made that happen, because that's quite an innovation in cinema trading.
So I think when I joined, we talk a lot about box office, which really works for people within the cinema industry. But I think when you're talking about the media world, it was, what does that really mean? How do I quantify that? And so so we work with PwC, and the data that we get from cinema is really accurate. So it's point of sale data the day after from every single screening, from every single cinema in the UK. So we know exactly how many people went to the cinema. We then can overlay that with some of information we get from the cinema monitor, so we know about the demographics. 93% of people go to see a film once. So all the tickets are quite unique or unique cover. So what we were talking to agencies and clients about was, how do we make it into a language which works for everybody? And by turning it into a language which is the same measurement as sort of TV programs, which is TVRs, is really helpful, because then you can compare apples with apples. So then we worked with PwC to ratify all the data to make sure that the way we were working it out was correct. And then we came to AdWanted to think about where do we host it? Where do we host it to make it really useful? And we had two of our client team join us from OMD, two planners, and they were saying they use the AdWanted data a lot for predictions. So then we went to you guys, and now it's hosted alongside the TV planning system, and we can predict and report on a film and the ratings it's achieved, so they can run it alongside AV schedules to see how much audience cover and frequency it adds to an AV schedule. And we think that cinema in that world makes the most sense. Because actually for 16-34-year-olds, as you said, when linear TV are audiences going away from linear TV, and then you've got like this plethora of choice, but how much attention are you really getting? That's where we think we play a really strong part.
And of course, we also often talk about measurement being different in every discipline, so it makes it impossible for you to get any sense of what does this mean, what does that mean. So that's what cinema TVR is trying to do, as you say, comparing apples to apples.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're also evolving this offering as well. So now there are TVR forecasts on Connected, which means users can select demographics such as ABC1 women or 16 to 24s. So tell us a bit more about how planners and buyers can best make use of this new function.
So if you use AdWanted and go into the prediction side, so already we've got in the system, so Deadpool we think is going to do 20 16-34 ratings, Joker's going to do 19, Despicable Me is going to do 4, is going to do 11, Inside Out is going to do 10. So if you're planning your schedule, then you can also think of, especially if you're launching at a time, I know we're going to talk about with the AV Maximizer, if you're launching a campaign, if you're launching a new message, or you're launching a brand, that's when you need your 1+ cover to be as big as it can. And these films and the opening weekend of these films really boost that 1+ cover. So and now we can prove and give you the evidence to show how that growth curve on 1+ cover can really make a difference.
Indeed, and so you've just mentioned there's also another launch, which is the AV Reach Maximizer. So that started becoming available at the start of the month. So that's another tool to help planners and buyers. So tell us how to make best use of that.
So I think if you know anyone who's been in certainly media sales for as long as I have, you need your point of comparison and your point of difference. And I think that where cinema was seen to play a part was on incremental reach and at the end. And actually, the part we play best is at the beginning. With the attention, and we've done a lot of work on attention, and the fact that people, for a 60-second ad, we've proved that people spend 48 seconds watching the ad on cinema, and they watch 26 seconds of a 30-second ad. This is where we really make a difference at the beginning. So the AV Maximizer, really, really simple tool available to everybody, which shows you if you put in a cinema schedule alongside your ratings from your AV schedules, what we add at the beginning. And I urge everyone to go and have a look at it, because we've just made it as simple as possible, and it gives you just an indication of the difference cinema makes at the beginning rather than just at the end. And I think that's the important factor.
And of course, part of the job for you is to promote this, to constantly remind people that cinema at the beginning, not at the end.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. And so finally then, having talked about the success of this marketing campaign of Barbenheimer, tell us about what the planners and buyers in this room need to know about. What are the films that we need to be looking to buy ads for?
So I think it's a unique, I guess, selling point of cinema, which is probably we are the only medium that knows our content 6 months or a year out. And it's just not content, it's content that is going to create cultural moments. So like Barbie. So the fact that Dyson and bought into the gold spot so early on was because we can talk about the kind of films. So just to whet everyone's appetite, we've got challenges coming out this weekend. Inside Out 2 will be big. Anyone with teenage daughters, Riley turns 13, which is frightening for anybody who's gone through teenage years with a daughter like I have. Despicable Me will be big. Twisters, this is a funny one. So Twister, which a lot of people remember from 1989. So we knew they were bringing out a sequel. It was unnamed for months. And then they finally announced it's going to be called Twisters. So you know what that's all about, exactly the same. Deadpool will be the big one for the weekend. Jamie, I don't know if you agree. I think that's our favourite. Beetlejuice will be big. Joker will be really big. Paddington will, of course, be another, unsurprisingly, be big. Gladiator, the remake of Gladiator with Paul Mescal will be huge. Wicked, we were talking about it earlier with Chloe, with Ariana Grande will be massive. Lion King, Mustafa, Lion King will be big as well. And then already in 25, we know a lot of the slate. So I think that's the key for me, which is that we talk about short-term a lot, and the session earlier talked about the power of long-term and long-term relationships. You can think long-term with cinema because we know the content, and that's what I think all of us would urge clients and agencies to think, challenge us to think about what we can do in the future with the content that we know about.
Thank you so much for this brilliant talk. I hope you guys found it very useful, and thank you so much, Karen.